finally, I'd like to hand over to Iolo Williams, who happy to make some concluding remarks. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Stefan. It's funny because someone said earlier that it's a bit like coming to a funeral, really, isn't it? We're all here for all the wrong reasons in many ways, but it's nice to see old friends as well, people I haven't seen for a long, long time. And one of the things from listening to all of you, and can I just say it's been a real privilege being here as well, listening to some fascinating research, some pioneering work as well. I've been lucky enough, I work all over Wales, all over the UK, and I dive Welsh waters, fantastic place, fantastic country we live in. And I thought I knew quite a bit about the Pembrokeshire Islands and the seabirds there, but I've learned today that I really don't. And there's a whole lot out there that we need to learn again too. And one of the most worrying aspects of this in many ways is seabird workers too, in breeding. I suspect we're going to hit a bottleneck sometime. We're all related. You really must learn to breed outside that tight circle. It's a bit like living in Bala up in North Wales. Really must bring in some new blood. And don't put the Bala bit on top. Otherwise I will be lynched.
YouTube this evening.
Well, I thought it'd be nice just to recap. I was talking to one or two people here and just look at what we're actually talking about here. Just look at the sheer number of birds here. Manx shearwaters, the Welsh population, roughly 316, 320,000 pairs. 300,000 of those are on Skomer and Scocco Islands, and that's 60% of the world population. Now we, as people of Wales, as people of the UK, have a responsibility for those birds. If those birds go, the world population is in a dire mess. Puffins, Skomer alone has over 6,000 pairs. And as you said, tens of thousands of people go out there every year. Yes, mainly to see guillemots, but also to see puffins. They do. You ask people going out there, why are you here? I wanted to see puffins. When I give talks, people say, what's the best time to go and see puffins? What's the best place to go and see puffins? So puffins are bringing probably hundreds of thousands of pounds of revenue into Wales every year. Guillemots, 20,000 pairs on Skomer. I hope this is right. This is your data here. 1,600 on Scocco. Razorbills, about 6,000 individual birds on Skomer. Gannets, 39,000 pairs on one lump of rock, 8 miles offshore. Well, for anyone who's never been there, it's an incredible place. It's one of those places you can smell before you arrive. You can smell gannets from a mile away. It looks like God has taken a big paintbrush and just blobbed it on the island. It's an amazing place. If you think if you'd have gone there 120 odd years ago, there would have been maybe a couple of hundred pairs. That's it. It's a fantastic place. The third largest colony in the whole of the UK. Lesser blackback gulls. Oh, I'm not a huge fan of gulls, but lesser blackback gulls declining. Really are rapid declines. 13,000 pairs in Wales. 8,500 of those pairs on Skomer alone. And elsewhere around the UK, around Wales, sorry, as well, terns. 20 odd years ago we were hearing about huge declines in tern populations further north. In Wales, not so at the moment. This year, Cemlyn Lagoon, North Wales Wildlife Trust Reserve, over 2,000 pairs of sandwich terns, one of the biggest colonies in the UK now. Skerries, off Holyhead there, Anglesey again, over 2,000 Arctic terns. These are phenomenal figures. You've only got to go back. I joined the RSB in 1985, and there were a couple of hundred pairs of each one. So at the moment, it would appear that our seabirds are doing well. And Skomer Marine Nature Reserve, one of only 3 in the whole of the UK, the only one in Wales. I've dived there, and a fascinating place, fantastic place. Underwater, Ross's coral, you've got pink sea fans, and you've got 70 sea slugs, and that's, what, 108 in the whole of the UK? So 2/3 of them, Skomer Marine Nature Reserve. It's a pin on the map of the UK. You've got 2/3 of them in there. It's fascinating. Grey seals, Skomer 200 pups born every year. Ramsey Island, just over the water there, 350. And when you throw into this mix things like harbour porpoise, you throw in common dolphins, bottlenose dolphins, 250 to 300 in Cardigan Bay every year, Risso's dolphins. More and more now you throw in minke whales, you throw in fin whales, humpback whales being seen off the Welsh coast as well now. And then we look at what we've heard here, the threats to all of these. Pollution. I was part of the Sea Empress team, I was working for the RSPB then, and it was just luck, pure luck, that we didn't lose tens of thousands of these birds. It really was. It was the 15th of Feb, it was following stormy weather, so most of our birds were offshore, thankfully, and most of the ones that were killed, scoters were in Carmarthen Bay. Had it been 2 months later, tell you what, we would have been looking at very small populations of probably all of our seabirds now. And we hear that the number of oil tankers are increasing there. It's not a matter of if it happens again, it's a matter of when it happens again, because it will. It's happened before, it'll happen again. And what happens then? What happens if we stop monitoring now? I know what'll happen. In 10 years' time, 15 years' time, we'll be thinking, damn, do you know what? I wish we carried on monitoring in the detail that we have done for decades before. We heard this with the fisheries earlier. They're now kicking themselves for not carrying on with detailed monitoring throughout the 80s and early 90s. You can't go back and fix that. Just can't do that. Pollution elsewhere as well. Plastic pollution, fishing nets. We're using our seas as a dumping ground. We have done for decades, for hundreds of years. And now the sea is finally beginning to spew all of this back at us. What are the long-term effects of all of that? I actually don't know. Nobody does yet. And wind farms, we have more and more offshore wind farms. What are the long-term implications for a lot of our seabirds, for a lot of our marine life? Again, we don't know. This is new technology. We're looking at green energy, tidal energy too. What are the effects there? We don't know. And one of the few things we can do is carry on monitoring at the levels we are now. Because if there are changes, we need to know, and we need to know immediately. And then we need to find out why. And we can only do that if we are monitoring to the levels and the detail that we are now. And against this backdrop, we're cutting back on monitoring. Now, I'm not here to have a real go at natural resource whales. I did that day before yesterday. But it's difficult for them. The three different, very different bodies have been pushed into one. And it is difficult. And bear in mind, these are sort of bodies that were often at loggerheads with each other, falling out. They're now one body. It's only 12 months on. But surely, if you're going to make cutbacks, and there have to be some, I accept that, a national nature reserve and 40 odd years of monitoring data, that's not the place to make these cutbacks. So I know there are one or two people from NRW here, and I'd ask you please to take this message back from all of us here. I haven't got a vested interest in this. I don't make money out of this. I just want what's best for Welsh wildlife. I want to see Welsh seas full of sea slugs and fish and full of seabirds. I want to see whales full of people and full of wildlife. That's what I want. And there are other things too. I've listened to some fascinating talks here and some really interesting pioneering research. And we're very good at selling it to other naturalists, other sort of scientists, but we're very poor at selling it to a wider audience. I remember when I was working for the RSPB many years ago, we were desperate to get something into the national press, into the red tops, the Sun, the Mirror, and we finally made it. We finally made it, and it was a message about how important it was in that winter, which was a bad winter, to feed garden birds. And it was in the Star, and the headline was, "Get your lard out for the tits." That was the headline. That was how we sold that message. But it is important. Gannet Camp, we all saw that. That made national news because it was fascinating. It was new, pioneering research. You might not have learned anything from that particular video, but the people did. The people thought, that's brilliant. And we've got to get things like that across. Yes, all of us have to tackle NRW. We have to tackle the Welsh Assembly. Bear in mind, when you're dealing with the Welsh Assembly, you're dealing with a pool of people with a collective IQ of an amoeba. So I leave that. So I leave that job to you. But you also have to convert the people out there. The people who don't know yet, that they care about puffins, that they care about gannets, that they care about guillemots and razorbills. And you can do that through people like me. You can do it. You've got the One Show, you've got Springwatch, you've got all of these things out there. So if you've got anything, any pioneering research, you think this is brilliant, take it out there, show people. It's only when they have a sense of belonging, a sense of pride in all of this, that they will then say, hang on now, they're going to cut this work. I don't want that to happen. And MPs are only there for 4 or 5 years at a time, and they are answerable to us, the public. And if they have 20, 30, 40, 50, hundreds of letters saying, you're going to cut research on puffins, I'm really worried about this, only then will they sit up and take notice. So don't forget the people out there when you're doing all of this research. They're really important people. Now, thanks ever so much. Thanks for inviting me. I have, honestly, I've learned so much, and it's been brilliant listening to fabulous, sharp individuals giving wonderful talks. Have a safe journey home. And do you know what I reckon? I reckon we might get NRW to make a U-turn. I honestly do. Politicians are well known for it. Usually there's sex, scandal, drugs involved. But I reckon this time, we may well find them doing a U-turn, because it's a vital piece of research. Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much.